Hi readers, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to my weekend books part 2 because I bought way too many books this past week. Anywho, the first one that I would like to tell you about is Severance by Ling Ma. There's no real description of this book, but it's about the apocalypse, and I love apocalyptic fiction. And in this one, a young woman is working in New York, and everybody starts getting this thing called Shen flu, which is from China, and really, this was written before 2020, and it's alarming. Shen flu is not like COVID. It turns people into zombies before it kills them, and also it's you get it by inhaling some sort of fungus. But zombies, I mean, you just wander around your house doing some kind of pattern and then you die. But she works and works and works until she ends up leaving the city, and then she gets in with a group of people that are traveling to Chicago or outside of Chicago. Anywho, no more spoilers on that. This was very unique and special book. I thought at the beginning, there are no quotation marks for speaking, and I thought that would put me off, but it did not. I fell into this story. It took me 3 days to read it, but that was because I had other stuff going on, hair appointment, can't tell from this mess, and chores, you know, that kind of stuff. But I finally finished it last night, and I do recommend it. It is unique and a very special book. Next up is one that I just got in yesterday, and I bought it for the cover and the 80s theme, and I'll tell you the third reason later. It is called I Think I'm Alone Now by Seay. I've never read any of her work before. Love this cover. Love it. It's more of a novella, published by Grindhouse Press. In I Think I'm Alone Now, and yes, I've got I Think We're Alone Now by Tiffany running through my head now. Every neighborhood has a Mr. Frank. You never want your ball to land in his yard. You never want to be on his radar. Feral Gen Xer Dory is a latchkey kid with no one to watch after her. Lately, her neighbor, Mr. Frank, is watching her a little too close for comfort, and she's not sure why. Dory's life and body suddenly seem to be in turmoil. Her relationship with her mother is strained, and she hasn't been feeling like herself lately. Being watched by that creeper, Mr. Frank, is the last thing she needs, and every time she turns around, there he is. When she's finally brought face to face with him, she discovers the reason for his obsession. So it's got some creepy vibes there, but the only thing off-putting is this print is really small. I don't know if you can see that, but that may make it feel like a lot longer. So this is set in 1985, and the dedication is the reason that I decided to finally buy it. This book is dedicated to the 80s and to the real Mr. Frank, who carried me home one day when I tripped on my own clogs and fell into the street. We were all terrified of him. I don't think he deserved it. I'm debating on whether or not this will be my next read. If not next, it's gonna be soon. Whew. Next up, I totally lost control at the bookstore. I don't know why I bought the next 2 books, except for they were buy one, get one 50% off. I've had my eye on this one, though, for a while, and it is The Adventures of Amina al-Sirafi by Shannon Chakraborty. This is fantasy. Again, small print. I really should have checked that out. In this, Amina al-Sirafi should be content. After a storied and scandalous career as one of the Indian Ocean's most notorious pirates, she survived backstabbing rogues, vengeful merchant princes, several husbands, and one actual demon to retire peacefully with her family to a life of piety, motherhood, allergies, mine, not hers, and absolutely nothing that hints of the supernatural. But when she's tracked down by the obscenely wealthy mother of a former crewman, she's offered a job no bandit could refuse: retrieve her comrade's kidnapped daughter for a kingly sum. The chance to have one last adventure with her crew, do right by an old friend, and win a fortune that will secure her family's future forever? It seems like such an obvious choice that it must be God's will. Yet the deeper Amina dives, the more it becomes alarmingly clear that there's more to this job and the girl's disappearance than she was led to believe. For there's always a risk in wanting to become a legend, to seize one last chance at glory, to savor just a bit more power, and the price might be your very soul. That does look good. Not sure when I'm going to get to it. Next up is, and the sticker stuck too hard. I tried to pull it off and it did not. AAPI Jiminez, Just for the Summer, Barnes & Noble exclusive edition. When it comes to love, Emma is cursed. Every guy she dates finds his true love after they break up. But it turns out she's not the only one afflicted by this condition. His name is Justin, and his Reddit thread about being love's good luck charm has gone viral. Now the two have come up with an ingenious plan. If they date each other, their curses will cancel out and they'll go on to find their own soulmates. Only Justin wasn't supposed to be so unbelievably cute and hilarious. But when Emma's toxic mother shows up and Justin has to assume guardianship of his 3 siblings, they're suddenly navigating a lot more than they expected, including catching real feelings. Has fate finally brought the perfect pair together, or will their cure be way more hazardous than the curse itself? This actually told from 2 timelines, I think. Two point of views, Emma's and Justin. I might read this next. That looks really good. Okay. So I went into thinking that I was going to pick up some books for Asian American and Pacific Islander month, and I did not do so well at that because I ended up with this, The Phone Booth at the Edge of the World by Imai Messina, and she's an Italian novelist born and raised in Rome and lives currently in Japan with her husband and 2 children. So, not AAPI. Ooh, but the font is fairly large. Let me tell you about this one. So this book is inspired by Japan's real-life wind phone featured in the episode One Last Thing Before I Go on NPR's This American Life. I've never heard about this. When Yui loses her mother and daughter in the same tsunami, she wonders how she'll ever carry on and begins to mark time in relation to that terrible day in 2011. Yet in the face of this unthinkable loss, her life must somehow continue. One day at work, as the host of a call-in radio program, Yui hears a story about a man on Whale Mountain, one of the places worst hit by the tsunami, who has an old telephone booth with a disconnected phone in the garden. As news of the phone booth and its wind phone spreads, people start coming for miles around to speak to loved ones, finding comfort in sharing the details of their daily lives with those that they have lost. But when Yui, numb with grief, makes her own pilgrimage, she can't bring herself to pick up the receiver. Then she meets Takeshi, a widower whose own daughter has stopped talking in the wake of her mother's death. This looks really good. Anywho, 2 more books to go. So, a million years ago, in another lifetime, my first active duty station was in Korea. I ended up staying there 2 years, and I was able to learn to speak fluently enough that I could get around on my own, and read so I could get around on my own. And I essentially traveled almost the entire country of South Korea. One memorable trip, I went down to an island at the bottom of South Korea called Jeju Island. spelled differently and probably pronounced differently than I. And it was a great trip. I loved the island, except the last day I got food poisoning so bad I wanted to die, but I had to get back up to my base in Suwon because my battery commander was going on leave the next day and I had to be there to take her place while she was gone. So, all that to say, the next book I picked up because of its Korean connection, and it's called The Mermaid from Jeju by Sumi Han. This is an AAPI author. I'm going to have to put my glasses on this. I also saw a program about these lady divers. In the aftermath of World War II, Go Jun-ja is a girl coming into her own. She is the latest successful deep-sea diver in a family of strong Haenyeo. I don't know how to pronounce that. Confident she is a woman now, Jun-ja urges her mother to allow her to make the Go family's annual trip to Mount Hala, where they trade abalone and other sea delicacies for pork. Jun-ja, a sea village girl, has never been to the mountains where it smells like mushrooms and earth. While there, she falls in love with a mountain boy, Yang Soo-wol, who rescues her after a particularly harrowing journey. But when Jun-ja returns one day later, it is just in time to see her mother take her last breath, beaten by the waves during a dive she was taking in Jun-ja's place. Spiraling in grief, Jun-ja sees her younger siblings sent to live with their estranged father. Everywhere she turns, Jun-ja is haunted by the loss of her mother. From the meticulously tended herb garden that's now begun to sprout weeds, to the field where their bedsheets are beaten. She has only her grandmother and herself. But the world moves on without Jun-ja. The political climate is perilous. Still reeling from Japan's forced withdrawal from the peninsula, Korea is forced to accommodate the rapid establishment of U.S. troops. Jun-ja's canny grandmother, who lived through the Japanese invasion that led to Korea's occupation, understands the signs of danger all too well. When Soo-wol is arrested for working with and harboring communists and the perils of post-World War II overtake her homelands, Jun-ja must learn to navigate a tumultuous world unlike anything she's ever known. Again, another book that looks really good, and the print is decent sized. This will bring back memories of Korea for me, and I look forward to reading it. Finally, this one I picked up, again, only for AAPI month. It is called The Broken Blades by Corlan. She's a Korean-American attorney and writer who now lives in New York. Look at the size of this. I could not resist it. This is probably YA fantasy. It's the season for treason. The king of Yusan must die. The 5 most dangerous liars in the land have been mysteriously summoned to work together for a single objective, to kill the God King, June. He has it coming. Under his merciless, immortal hand, the nobles flourish while the poor and innocent are imprisoned, ruined, or sold. And now each of the 5 blades will come for him. Each has tasted bitterness from the hired hitman seeking atonement. Each has tasted bitterness. From the hired hitman seeking an atonement, a lovely assassin who seeks freedom, or even the prince banished for his cruel crimes, none can resist the sweet, icy lure of vengeance. They can agree on murder. They can agree on treachery. But for these 5 killers, each versed in deception, lies, and betrayal, it's not enough to forge an alliance. To survive, they'll have to find a way to trust each other. But only one can take the crown. Let the best liar win. This is a gorgeous book. Look at this inside cover. I don't even think this is a Barnes & Noble exclusive, but I could not resist this. Beautiful edges. I hope the story is just as good. Can't wait. Can't wait to read this one. Anywho, that is what I got up to this week. I hope you've had a great reading week, and I'd love to hear if you've read any of these books, what you think of them, or if you have any suggestions that I might buy and or read. That's it for me. Happy reading!